The big town of Pinebrook Pass is developing extremely well. We have a whole range of mixed residential, commercial, industrial services, as well as mass transportation. Over 60 to 70% of the entire town uses buses as a transportation system. So it's coming along very, very well. But it's time for Pinebrook Pass to start really leaning into its big cityness. In the last episode, we tackled a rather large 6-way highway interchange. And now it's time to develop the high density, big downtown space right next to it. Hello everybody, this is Havoc and welcome back to Pinebrook Pass. I think I have all of the exits created. There's a lot going on here. I did tackle quite a few things, and honestly at this point, if we find out that there's something not being connected, we'll work on it in the future. This is a lot going on. I'm honestly still very, very proud of this. This is one of the coolest creations I've ever made, and I appreciate your support on it. So as I mentioned, Pinebrook Pass is doing fantastic. We have so much going on, and it looks really, really good. We've already got kind of our low or mid density rises and everything all going on over here. To be quite frank, all we really need at this point is low density residential and commercial, and of course industrial will pretty much always be the deal. But I can't really develop anything yet. I really want to get up to the next level, and I want to purchase a lot of this space and turn it into a really large low density neighborhood, like a big giant suburb area, make this look really small in comparison. But before we get into today's episode, I do want to mention that I do have some goals for this playthrough that we need to be mindful of. And we'll get into some of the things that have changed. There's a tornado going on over there. Very nice. But basically what I want to ensure is that we do actually have some quote unquote small towns that are separate from the big city. That means they have their own ambulance system, police, fire trucks, all their own systems in place, and basically act as separate entities. Now, I think Suburbia is pretty much going to start crawling over into this space. But we take a look here. We do have the capacity to build like a small town over here. This will probably be wrapped up into everything, but we can definitely be north of the river. I guess this is south technically, based on how I've named highways. And we may have some nice, cool, I'm trying to think of where I am, smaller communities over here. Like north of this may just kind of be the outlier states or the outlier cities, where we kind of have a couple of towns focused on industry over here per se, and farming over there, oil, and then maybe another little oil thing up there. We might be able to squeeze something out of this area, but it may just get swallowed up into suburbia. And then of course over here we definitely have a lot of space to build our own small town. So basically I just want to make sure that we don't just sprawl across all of this and just completely take it over. That's what I do not want. I want to be able to create some separate entities overall. Now, as for the city itself, there are some improvements that we've made. And by the way, a huge shout out to Ankur Patel. Apologies if I butchered your name, but they mentioned that I was building some livestock farms over fertile land and they don't require it. As well as stone does not require ore as a resource. So we have revamped our entire farm system to reflect that. We got livestock farms in a place where fertile ground isn't. We got grain and vegetables on the fertile land. We don't have textiles yet. And then I have coal. I think I have coal and ore already set up, and then stone mining. And so we do have our mining facilities over here all going at it. Of course, it does look awkward. It looks weird. There's not much that I can do about that. That's just how the game processes really steep land, and that's where our ore deposits are. And then we've got our cool connections here, things that'll eventually, we'll flesh this area out. I don't know exactly what this might be. This might be a low density neighborhood right over here. In fact, we could switch our plans today, and instead of focusing solely on creating a downtown, because to be quite honest, we don't have a lot of demand for a downtown section, and we could certainly wait. You know what? That's what we're gonna do. We need to expand suburbia and basically make this an entirely new neighborhood. Now, this neighborhood won't connect anywhere else. I do want to emphasize that. There's almost too steep of terrain to work on that, and plus we can kind of push it as its own little self-sufficient neighborhood that doesn't rely on anyone else to focus on. We could definitely do that, and I think that is what we will end up doing. Now, remember, this is a state highway, so people would have naturally come off of this. Now, that doesn't mean that we are developing this with the intent as though it was created old school, as it were, but we're definitely going to work on that. We're actually going to, with this in mind, I'm actually not going to have this come up because that wouldn't connect. We wouldn't have a dirt road that connects to a neighborhood like this. So switch of plans, totally switch of plans, because I wanted to focus on something else, but I think we need to really focus on the needs of the city rather than the needs of what I want to do to create a cool episode. So we're definitely going to do that. Love it, love it. It's going to happen, and there's no worries here. So we're going to do a little bit of terraforming real quick. And now we're going to smooth it out a decent bit as well. We don't really want people, you know, potentially falling off a straight cliff and dying. That would not be a fun thing to deal with. Now, what we're going to do here, I really don't know. I may end up cutting it off right here because I don't really want to go up against that cliff face unless we did something really cool. And I just don't know what that would be at the moment. So we'll see how we handle that. But now we've got our neighborhood. Now it is, you know, perfectly flat, which does bug me a smidgen. But to be honest, if we were making a residential neighborhood out of this, they would build so many retaining walls and put so many processes in place that would basically force that to happen. So I'm not overtly concerned about the feasibility of it. So let's go ahead and extend our roads out basically as far as we would, and then we may just have a different entrance type sitting around and chilling here and having a good jolly old time. So we are going to kind of keep things to the edge as much as possible, which means this may be a little bit more of a wonkier status. Excuse me, goodness gracious. We actually might have a residential bridge that spans this. Does that look good? It doesn't look great. That actually doesn't look half bad. That doesn't look half bad at all. So just ignore everything that I say today, basically, because I've already gone against what I said I was going to do in the, you know, the first 10 minutes of the episode. So awesome. So we need to create our neighborhood, and we can be, like I said, a little more liberal. Whereas over here, we kind of didn't stick to contours and we really went kind of grid. These are different types of neighborhoods that we can totally adhere to a different rule set with. And so, for instance, I do kind of want to create, there is going to be some symmetry always because I can't get away from that. But it really just depends on where that symmetry starts. And then we are going to push this out here. Again, balancing the abilities of the houses in this game with the actual ability of... See, yeah, we could totally do that, but I really would rather just... I think it would just look better if we can have just a little bit of fun. Can I have a little bit of fun, guys? I think I can. Nope. We do want to make sure that this lines up. I can't not have that happen. So we got that right there. Okay, so we can see how that's not going to line up. But I can just simply draw this. That works for me. That's not too shabby. And I don't necessarily want this here, by the way. That was simply kind of a guide, a guiding meter to what we want to have happen. And then I'm tempted. Let's push this back just a little bit. But we do want an entrance. You know what? We do want an entrance to this neighborhood, don't we? I still think we can make this entrance work. Okay, I'm gonna be okay with this. What I'm not gonna be okay with is the fact that it wasn't centered. Excuse me today, I've had a really nasty cough. The weather down here is not so fantastic, so it's been messing with me real bad. Oh, that's not even close. We're just gonna leave this alone for the minute. It's bugging me too much. All right, so let's adhere to this. And this is where we go a little bit abstract. But we can really keep to this, and this is why I love the tools in City Skylines 2. Issues, of course, always. But I really enjoy some of these tools that allow me to be able to build some cool areas and really get some good road systems going in. So I'm okay with this. It does look a little bit awkward, but again, it kind of fits the neighborhood. I don't like super tight curves around my spaces, so I don't really want to do that, and so we're not going to. We are going to still just keep to our city guidelines, just like that. And this does give us a good deal of space to work with, and that's what I really wanted. I wanted a big neighborhood, one that we can have fun with, we can work on. Is it still not, am I still not able to do that? I think I'm still not able to do that. I need this turned off, and I need snap to guidelines turned off. Okay, we'll be okay with this. We will be okay with this. That's not a bad neighborhood at all. So we're gonna have our typical setup here, because remember, we do still want to adhere to the practice of making things. Oh, that's gonna bug me. We may have some bigger houses in this neighborhood. And I don't know why that's not, why that's still a thing. Nope, don't like that. Okay, that'll be fine. And then this is where we're going to really be abstract, because I want to create some fun neighborhood designs and layouts that really detract from what we did before. Yes, it is a little bit of a waste of space, per se. But you know what? Actually, we can do this. Let's see how this works, because this isn't something I've ever actually done. What's the most that I can make it? 12. Cool. Okay, that's pretty darn cool. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. That actually looks really cool. I'm very satisfied with that. Now, ideally, I will, let's go ahead and finish this out. Make sure that it doesn't hit any major hiccups. I think that's good. I think that's really good. I think that looks really, really cool. Now we have to figure out how to fill it up correctly. And I think we can start with some of these smaller areas for sure. Oh, I messed up. I done messed up. I'm building the medium residential, and that's not what we need to do. Low density it is. Apologies on that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, let's go ahead and get these guys ticked off so that way they will all... Ooh, this looks really cool. I'm really glad we decided to get this worked on because that looks fantastic. We're still gonna have issues over here. In fact, we could probably go ahead... Well, I don't want to slap any parking. That parking wouldn't be in this type of a neighborhood, so I'm not gonna worry about that. What we can do is we can work on some small parks sprinkled throughout. Do we have spaces for that? We do actually. I think we actually have spaces for some large parks. There we go. That looks great. We could do a large playground if we had the space. We may make the space because we do really need that. Perfect. Awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and super fast forward time, as I like to call it, because I want to see all these things get built up. Now, the thing is, we haven't really even ticked off, checked off the low density residential demand. So it's still there and it's still happening. Also, you may have seen that I started building on some bigger plots, especially back here. No, this isn't me being lazy. This is, as I was moving through all of this, I realized that I was being too small. This is sort of a unique position, and in my opinion, this is where some more higher valued residential neighborhoods would be, and as such, they're going to have bigger plots. So again, I started small here, but I realized that that was not genuine of me to what I think this neighborhood would actually entail. So we're definitely and totally going to have this neighborhood be completely fleshed out in that regard. Now, I am going to also expand Thornton Terrace. Can I not expand it? I think I can. Because we are going to encompass all of these guys because they are still, even if they don't necessarily like it, they may be a little bit nose in the air, they are still going to be part of this entire district. And they're just gonna have to deal with it. There we go. Cool. Well, they now have their own schools and stuff assigned to them like we have with any other neighborhood. And that is going to help things quite a bit. Now, you'll also notice that we're bouncing in between a positive and a negative balance. So at least at the time, we're starting to make some dough. Yeah, we're making lots of dough. I think we're pretty much solid now. And our population is going up naturally because, well, we are doing all the things to create a brand new neighborhood. And we totally could, you know what, we may just spend today expanding everything. I think that's kind of at the point where we are at. The question is do I do have that there. I do think we keep this a state highway. Now, if we look at our contours, we're gonna see that we're starting to get up into the mountainous areas. So our neighborhoods are going to look a little bit different because we are going to have to keep in mind that we are building up into a mountain. So in regards to a highway, I do think that a highway would actually end up splitting here. And it would just go, I mean, I'm not kidding. I think it would just straight up just start adhering to these contours. Again, you got your small county highways and your small roads. That's where it's going to start. And we could totally build a nice roundabout here to kind of facilitate that expansion. They realize that they're going to have that in order for things to be as productive as they want it to be. And then we can definitely, I need water mechanics I need to be able to bring in water and have this creek here, because that creek is still totally 100% a thing that's going to happen. Now, however, that being all said, what's our grade? Ooh, our grade isn't great. -6% is brutal. Even -5% is brutal. And so we may have some very kind of wonky neighborhoods here. Now, what I could totally do is I could totally say, hey, what were to happen if we were to build this up a little bit? We kind of do have to be mindful of it all. And what if I think you have to right click and right click. No, that's not it at all. So we're going to right click up here, right click down here. That's not it either. Wow, I have just completely botched this entire thing. We're going to go here and here. There we go. What's that grade like? That's 4.3, so that's not terrible, but it's not great either. We may end up kind of building multiple platforms of lower and lower neighborhoods to kind of make things not so entirely awkward. I think that's kind of what we need to do. Okay, so this is going to work, I think. A 3% grade isn't too bad. It's not fantastic, it's not great, and odds are we're gonna have a lot of awkward neighborhood areas. I'm just going to forewarn you that this may not be the prettiest thing in the world. But I was thinking, there's a small town near me called Bella Vista, and it is, they basically made some man-made lakes, and it is a mess and a half if you really, really think about it. So I'm a bit okay with having some wonky neighborhoods because we have just fit the neighborhood demands that are around us and done what we can. So there's some people whose basic floor level is jutting out almost into a lake, and it's, 40 or 50 feet down where the basement finally is, kind of a deal. So like you have a 3 or 4 story house, despite it, just being because you're on a cliff. So I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. I think it works well. I do really love this grade tool. I think it's immensely helpful to kind of create some of these more interesting neighborhoods and make them work out. Because yeah, that's not bad compared to what it was. We were at a pretty daggum steep grade of -5 or -6. So that's not too shabby. Now we need to not have a neighborhood come directly off here. So we are going to start with a neighborhood that's like right here, I'm gonna say. And we are gonna build 90 degrees to that. And then this will be another one of those maybe slightly wonky ones, but nothing that we're going to be too crazy about because we don't have a need to. We can simply be able to abide by our own laws and be able to work on that pretty well, I think. Also, one thing to mention is that we are still trying. This is a sort of min-max neighborhood, so we don't want huge houses here, and that makes it difficult, especially when you're trying to do all these curves, because you don't want too small of houses. But at the same time, we have to be able to make what we need to satiate the maximum amount of people, and so I just wanted to give a heads up that if you see me building and rebuilding roads a lot, it's because I want to make sure that we are maximizing the most space as we can. Now there's our neighborhood. Ideally, we have 2 entrances and exits, but I don't know where I would put this one. So we are going to just have this singular one. It's a big neighborhood to be only having 1 exit, but that is somewhat, that does somewhat happen. It's just not super frequent. So we are going to first, I guarantee you that we don't have electricity. We are not connected to any sort of grid. And in fact, worse than that is that we, oh no, can I not build? Oh no. Can we build to the edge here? We certainly can. Invalid shape. They don't like that shape at all. I'm not sure what shape they mean. Do you not like my shape? Because that's really rude. Let's go there. There. Awesome. Okay, so that's reconnected. And that's great, but what we don't have is we don't have power at all. Now, I wish I could build underground. I would love to build underground wires, which I get, that's kind of what that stuff is. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to build a transformer station right here. I just don't feel that it's necessary. And so I also don't want to build one there. So I need to find a way to be able to get power all the way across, which you wouldn't have regular power lines going across an interstate like this. At least not from what I've seen. I really don't want... they're going to force my hand, aren't they? I think they are. So for now, we're going to have this here. We're going to figure out a different solution in the future. But this is not ideal. And I mean, I don't really think anything would happen, but that's okay. We'll get it figured out. So we have power here, and I'm simply just gonna have to draw power all the way across. And then of course we need the same thing for our connections there. And then we just need to be able to connect across the street. So we are going to have a main road pipeline. There's gonna be these bad boys. And we're just gonna tunnel straight underneath. No regard for anything. That's simply just how it's going to be. And I think that should satiate our need for... Yes, it is. Perfect. And we're gonna start with all the tiny spots. The ones that I know I can fill up without having to do customized stuff. Because I know that it's just going to get filled up immediately. Okay, not a lot there. That's fine. These are the big chunkers that I really enjoy doing. Getting big, giant pieces all done at once. We're going to go like that. And then before I get into this all, large playground, what about sports parks? There we go. We're gonna put in a large playground, I think, over there. I don't need a city park. City park is a little extreme. But we can totally have, you know, a park on the outskirts. We can have a dog park right here, kind of in the center of the neighborhood. A smattering of parks is not going to be a bad thing at all. And then an outdoor gym, those things squeeze in everywhere, don't they? Skate park, I don't really care for a skate park. But then we're going to do this kind of on the outside. There we go. I could actually move this, I think, and be able to squeeze a house in. There we are. All right, now I just got to finish cranking out all these little neighborhood guys. Oops, that's fine. And there we have it. Oh, nope, just kidding. There's a few more spots I'm missing. Let's go ahead and do that just like this. So we have a lot of those on this side of the neighborhood. And boom, what is this about? Waiting for a hearse. Okay, well, for one thing, I don't think we're working on operating districts in that area, so that's fine. How are we doing here? There really shouldn't be any need. Yeah, we're just kind of doing that number. And what we want to make sure that we do, for instance, is that we can say, hey, no left turns here. So it has to be a right turn only. And even the same way here, we don't want any left turns. Or right turns, excuse me. So it's a left turn only scenario. Although it's not, there we go, perfect. Perfect. And then no left turns here at all either. There we go. That way it just kind of speeds up traffic flow and they aren't having to all wait behind and make sure that that's all flowing correctly. And now we have 2 new neighborhoods. The city grows and it's growing quite nicely. And to be honest, this isn't that bad. We could easily just kind of, oh, no, we couldn't. Never mind. I'm just kidding. Let's go ahead and we're going to do this and we're going to give them a little bit of a backyard. Just a little bit of one. Kind of do a double terrace situation. Ooh. You do kind of forget that there's a gradient here. That we do want to adhere to and be mindful of. Oh, but you gotta love that tool. I love that tool. This slope terrain tool is awesome. It's fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. Our population is booming. We are generating a decent bit of money. We do need to, you know what? This wouldn't have bus routes. So I'm actually not going to put bus routes in here because I don't feel like anyone would actually take part in that. They just wouldn't. This is one of those you drive into town, which to be quite frank, really isn't that bad of a drive in order to get it to all your commercial things. High rent, okay? Trouble paying the rent. To higher zone density or different zoning might be needed. Nah, we're good. Well, the thing is here is that we have, man, our average health is not fantastic. And we could probably use another emergency service. But I don't know where exactly I would build it. I don't necessarily want to put it over here in this section at all. We'll have to figure that out. But we're gonna have to do that in the next episode. So downtown will wait. We don't have a need, excuse me, right here. We don't have a need for medium or high residency, high residential. Now, that being said, since we are pocketing a decent bit of cash and we are about to get to our next progression, I do think we will go ahead and flesh this out because for one, I'm going to get a lot more tiles so I can finish this, which means we can hopefully make our connections here like we want to. And then we can start expanding out this way as well, so we can work on building a massive amount of residential, because that's what's being asked of us. Now, I do think this commercial demand is going to involve some high density commercial demand, which I do believe we get, yes, at milestone 9. So that's going to be really, really nice. And at milestone 10, we get high density offices, which are skyscrapers. So that's also going to be great. We may even not worry about building a downtown area until we have high density offices, because I really, really want that awesome looking skyline. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know how to support the channel by giving things thumbs up. This is Havoc, and I'll see you in the next episode.